Little pressure or what?
Yeah, you can do it.
You
for
wanted
sure.
that story? What are you thinking?
I was thinking, here's how you get that going, because people have to first know about something before they want it. They need to know about it. They don't know that they want superpowers. They don't know, but they kind of do.
Really? You don't wish to ever like
hang on a sec, but-
ask out the girl you've loved your entire life and
see,
she
it's-
says yes,
it's
or to
something-
get that dream job that you always wanted, or to not even need a job and just have a 7-day weekend, just all the time. You're having a great time.
But here's what I'm saying: is people deeply want to be superhuman. They go to all the Avengers, the Marvel, the movies, showing people as superpowers, right? Because deep inside, people actually want superpowers. But they don't know that that's what they want. That's what they're seeing. That's what they're seeking. But they haven't vocalized it. They haven't verbalized
What's
it.
that quote? What's that quote though? The quote is like, "We're not afraid that we're powerless, but we're afraid that we're powerful beyond measure." You know, something like that.
Exactly.
This is us, right? Where we have this trouble embracing our greatness. We get stuck in these stories of pain and of victimhood and of suppression. And we get stuck in a story that our planet is dying. And so when we believe that story, we don't only create that through our actions, like, oh yeah, this is a styrofoam plate. I just used a styrofoam plate. By the time I saw it, the food was already on it, and I'm thinking, okay, so this is going to go in the ocean and it's going to start killing things. But the good news is that he just moved to paper. Because some people believe that we could save the world. They passed regulations, the government influence, now he's influenced, the businesses are competing to bring solutions. Paper is one solution, there's another solution. People, by shifting their perspective, can change things. He showed me just a little bit of the stack left. But we can change these things, right? So we have to move to a place that we're powerful, and technology to do that is the only way to do it, because technology has dominated our life in every perspective. Technology in your feed, in your YouTube video, we've learned that the race to the brace is to propagate content that makes you angry. They want you to beat your chest like an ape, to go hurt people. We've learned how powerful violence is, and so technology to help us find peace is absolutely, it's not a no-brainer. It's actually having a brain.
So what you're saying is that you're planning on using technology to help increase people's awareness of themselves, and ultimately to be able to operate at their highest sense of themselves, and just have more consciousness and consideration in the world. And in order to do that, because a lot of people might not have the wherewithal on the things to consider, do you get what I'm saying? Like, you're showing them how to be more mindful through technology nudges, urges. Like, how are we showing them the way?
What is the performance mindset? What is the mindset of wealth and abundance? What is the mindset of not just survival, but of to thrive, to expand? What is the mindset that if it were to propagate through the world would create an experience that's more like heaven than hell? Like, when we look at our world, there's all these hell experiences. Like, what is it like to be in Syria these days? Or what is it like to be burning in Australia? Or even in San Francisco recently, covered in smoke, with people walking around with gas masks. Like, if that's not apocalyptic, people walking around San Francisco wearing gas masks, what is? I was there last summer, and that was the case.
That's great.
And so these things are happening now. What is that mindset that creates the opposite of that brings a heavenly experience with love and compassion with ourselves? And let's be real. We're half monkey and we're half angel, is how I see it. Angels propagate love in the world and help people and kindness and compassion. And I don't think angels get in scrappy fights, or, no offense to the Kardashians. I don't watch that show, but, I don't know if hashtag Kardashian? Anyway. Honey Boo Boo. I'm insulting some memes here, aren't I? Maybe that's a bad thing. So we have our high moments and our low moments, and technology helps us find our high moments. Can we bring attention to the moments of peace in our life? Can we bring attention to joy? I'm not talking about laughing at someone because they tripped when they were crossing the street. People do that, right? In their head, they're like, haha, look at that sucker. But I'm talking about, look at that butterfly, or look at that beautiful leaf fall from a tree, or look at the clouds in the sky, how beautiful and shiny they are. Or look at that moment of love between a mother and a child, or a father and a child. And, these things are human expressions in positive ways, instead of all the violence that we propagate. So when we feel that joy, love, and peace in our heart, how do we find those moments and replicate those, and how do we utilize technology to help us do that?
So it sounds like you've got, you've identified that. What it sounds to me is like you think most people the way the world's suffering, the reason it's suffering is because of the static noise going on in people's minds. They're not grateful, they're not mindful, they're not in the moment, they're not appreciating the beauty, and because of that, they're focused on what's ugly. They're bombarded by what's horrible and what's terrible in the world, and because of their bombardment of that, it's what they speak about, it's more what they create. And so you're saying that by changing that driving stimulus to urge them and nudge them to stop and turn off the noise and be present in the moment and appreciate the beauty and have a laugh and connect with someone and give to someone, that to be brought into that moment like reminders could help them transform not just their own thoughts and their lifestyle, but the collective, because that is a drop in a pond, and it just continues to ripple and spread outwards until beautiful ending. So is that what I'm getting down?
I mean, your book you're bringing out this year, Deprogram You. This is a perspective we share in common. That people are programmed. We're programmed by the families that we grow up in, the societies that we grow up in, the lineage of where our nation states are. We're programmed by the experiences of our life. So, if my first girlfriend cheated on me with somebody and it was a really embarrassing, painful experience in front of the whole school or something, that didn't happen, but if it did, I'd have some trauma about that. If the first time I got in a car, it was hit by a big truck and I was injured, I'm going to have some trauma about that. And so we have stories about things. We have stories. If the moment you got wealthy, it was all stripped from you, or you got a good job, it was taken away from you, and people get in these stories, they get expecting that bad things are going to happen. And when we know, for every spiritual tradition, what you focus on, what you pray for, what you intend happens. Law of attraction. This is just truth. It's also physics, and this is something that I'm super passionate about, as you know. When we think about how consciousness affects the behavior of electrons, photons, and even material matter, it shapes it, because it's not a material reality; it's an energetic reality, and consciousness is linked to that. So when we say we're tracking our emotions, we're tracking on a very material level. If I'm in a relationship with someone, I see someone who's going to hurt me, well, they're either going to hurt me, or I'm selecting from a pool of people who hurt me, and subconsciously I'm finding people who are going to hurt me. So there's this physical level, and then there's also this very spiritual level of how we create intention happens. And the newest evolved biologics device, where we're tracking the random behavior of photons. There's just like photonic noise. Light goes up and down. It's just this random generator. And then you look at the light and you say brighter. But it's not just like you will get brighter. It's like an intention of brighter, a release, an elevation of consciousness, and the line just kind of floats up. The light becomes brighter, not through any digital connection that we know of, but through the spiritual nature of the universe, entanglement. It responds to consciousness. So yes, how are we thinking about our world today? Are we thinking about it as a burning planet and the end of existence, and AI is going to colonize us and just strip humans from the earth? These are some pretty powerful memes that are running in various different ways. Not everybody's fully there yet, but whether the earth dies, or humans become robots, or robots kill all the humans, these are our movies, these are our stories, these are our fears, and this is the technology we're creating. Can we do something different? Can we understand the human experience in a new way and start to develop a new vision for the world? And can that vision become something that we realize?
Well, I would say if you consider the mind of an addict, like if you look at someone who does drugs, and you can take them out of their town or city or wherever they live, and you can throw them in the freaking Arctic, they will find drugs. They will just manifest that life, and then they create more and more and more, and it gets worse and worse and worse, and they think about worse and worse things, and it gets more and more deteriorated. And they literally create.
Is a place where this exists.
But at the same time,
relationship is a relationship where this exists. The only world that person knows is that world, and they always find their way to it.
So as a collective, like you've seen the rebound. You've seen someone go the other direction. Even my own life, from manifesting addictions and horrible lifestyle to switching that and just manifesting, and life keeps getting better and better and better and better and better and better and better, and more abundant and more peaceful and more prosperous and more amazing and more blessed. Because I deprogrammed that thought. Right? And in that journey of reprogramming my mind with beauty, with joy, with God, with transcendence, and peace and love and forgiveness and good fruit, what ends up happening is I create more of that around me in that life. And also because of that, manifesting more relationships with people who are more conscientious about the environment and about what we're actually doing and the impact we're making. And so as you shift that along, that wave of light starts to manifest itself, and there's this compounding effect the conjoining of forces and minds to create our consensus reality. This world that we think we live in is nothing but lies and illusion. It's a delusion. It's a mass consensus that was built on a foundation of sin, of lies, of greed, of lust, of awful things and malevolence and evil. But if you collectively change that consciousness to this, it can happen in the twinkling of an eye. You could literally completely transform the entire way the world is, and that's literally what was even spoken about in like biblical prophecies. You know, the end time, the kingdom of God, that new heaven, the new earth. It's a transforming of consciousness. It's an understanding of the oneness that we all share within each other, and the operating foundation of values of love, and unconditional love thereof, which is an eternal and abundant thing of joy, because no evil can come from true love. So, it was a little bit of a rant, but...
No, it's wonderful. Yeah. I mean, this is great. I totally agree with all that. And some people think about this in the religious context, and some of these people think of it in a psychological context. I mean, how is it that we create structures around our world, and how is technology a part of that? Is kind of our question, right? Like it's part of it through capitalism, right? We're shaping human behavior to centralize wealth for wealthy individuals, for the 1% of the 1% of the 1%, which is actually now becoming AI. Like humans are becoming slaves to a process of algorithms. And it's a bit of a leap, right? Like, you know, I read a lot, so I'm, 5, 10, 20 books in on algorithms and technology. And so we look at Facebook, right? It tells you a story, it teaches you about the world, but the world it teaches about is one that keeps you engaged, that keeps you clicking it, because you bring your attention, and where you bring your attention, you bring your commerce and your wealth. And so this is the economic society we live in. But when we take a step back and we say, what kind of world do we want to live in? It's not one that converts resources to garbage. Amazon as a business, like how much cheap shit can you get to soothe the pain of your soul as fast as possible until you throw it out? And then it goes into a landfill or into an ocean. I mean, this is consumerism, right? And AI is driving consumerism. It's like this, it wants us to need more, like give me that, It's awakening a beast inside of us. It's, to me, commerce in these ways, when we combine it with AI, doesn't have a value set, and it becomes evil. And so if that's evil, then what is good? And so is it in a psychological framework? Is it in a spiritual framework? Is it in a religious framework? One of the things that I've been thinking about, Maslow, I recently finished The Further Reaches of Human Nature, an amazing book. I mean, we speak about actualization, where you see the meaning and purpose of your life, like from the place that you were, Shane, to the place that you have come to see that you can now help people, and to see that you can propagate love into the world and heal people whose hearts and bodies hurt in the way that yours did, like a hurt that was so big that you didn't remember who you were. You couldn't see past that programming, that situation. You're now in this place of actualization, and the transcendence piece is what comes next, right? It's the magic, and you're in that as well. And so to be in this place of actualization and transcendence, what Maslow says is, if you're not a person who's lived your life to the place that you have your needs met, that you feel you have meaning, that people around you love you, that you know why you're here and what you're doing, he says you're not actually human. You haven't actually fully reached your potential of a human. You're not a fully actualized human. He says, like, continue that journey and get to the place where that is, because it exists. And it's really just programming. It's just just each of us coming to a place where we can look out the window and see a gray day and say, isn't it beautiful? That we can see an economic challenge. There's some challenges in one of our companies I'm dealing with now, and say how grateful I am to be challenged in that way, so that I can learn about a whole new self that's not afraid of scarcity, it's not afraid of loss, it's able to show up under pressure in a loving and peaceful and compassionate way, honing my decision making, forging a greater character. So Maslow says, if you don't get to that place where you're doing not only what you love, but doing love internally and externally, then you're not yet fully human. And he also says, I mean, that's where the magic comes in. He describes the metahuman, and the metahuman is the essence of the spiritual transcendence and exploration that exists in, like, how do you dream something in your mind and it just shows up? How does synchronicity manifest in your life? How do you say a prayer in the deepest level of prayer and just, you open your eyes and snap, the thing appears against all odds? That happens. This is a very interesting world we live in, and if we get stuck in a box like we've been trained to think that magic isn't real and that prayer doesn't matter and that we're slaves to news and government and happenings and soon AI, then there is no world. It's not a world worth living. So, wake up. That's my mantra.
Oh man. So yeah, you got to step into your superpowers, and that's literally what it is understanding that you have powers, you have superpowers, you being children of God, the heirs of the universe, heirs of the kingdom. How could you ever be undeserving? How could you have lack when you live in a world that was blessed to give you abundance and literally created that way, so you could create infinitely inside of this realm? And that's potential. It's there. You can tap into it now. It just depends on whether you have the faith or not. And if you don't have the faith, maybe one of the biggest things to ask for is to ask for faith first. Sometimes you need to ask for that too, or just have someone else's faith in you to be able to step into, so that you can have that faith for yourself and believe in yourself and go and live the life that you truly deserve, and based off of all of the dreams that God put into your heart. So I would say that it's possible, and that not all must meet their end.
Or another perspective is, by the way, I agree with all that. Is that the end is the essence. That who we are today, being able to surrender into death in this beautiful way, that doesn't mean like, oh, I just, my physical body dies, but that my limitations die as I move into these dark retreats. It's like the first 2 hours of this time was like, oh my god, let me out of here, I can't get in here, I can't handle it. And then there was this place of peace that came for the little bit, and then I had a little bit more anxiety, and fast forward 3 days, and big, beautiful, brilliant lights from above, and like glistening with the ecstatic love in my body, and then some screaming into a pillow moments, and I'm not the same guy anymore. I'm not. There's a difference, there's a growth, there's an expansion. So apocalypse, I'm all about apocalypse. The revealing of new knowledge. And with new knowledge comes a new sense of being.
Yeah, so I don't even know what to say after that.
This has been fun.
Yeah.
Is this our end of our podcast episode?
This is the end of the podcast episode. What's this called?
Brighter Future.
That's right. Guys, Steve Curtis. Cheers.